You know, when you think about the most incredible, non-stop logistics network ever created, what comes to mind? It's not some global shipping company. Nope. It's working inside you right now, keeping every single part of you alive. We're talking about your cardiovascular system.
So, let me just ask you a question. Think about your big toe for a second. It's about as far from your heart and lungs as you can get, right? So, how on earth does it get the fuel and oxygen it needs every single second of the day? How does the body solve this huge logistical problem for trillions of cells?
Well, the answer is this absolutely stunningly efficient system. And honestly, if you think Amazon Prime is impressive, it has nothing on this. Your cardiovascular system is the true master of logistics, making sure every last cell gets exactly what it needs right when it needs it.
And at the absolute center of this entire sprawling network is Mission Control, the engine that just never ever stops. We're talking, of course, about your heart.
Now, this whole process might look a little complicated, but it really just boils down to 4 key steps in a perfect continuous loop. Okay, so first up, used deoxygenated blood comes into the right atrium. That's the first stop on the right side. From there, the right ventricle, right below it, gives it a push over to the lungs for a quick pit stop. After it loads up on fresh oxygen, it comes back to the left atrium. And then finally, the super powerful left ventricle pumps that fresh blood out to your entire body, from your brain all the way down to that big toe. And this is just brilliant because it shows you why your heart isn't symmetrical. It's basically 2 pumps that are fused together. The right ventricle, its only job is to push blood next door to the lungs. It's a short, easy trip. But now look at the left ventricle. Whoa, it has to generate enough force to push blood through thousands of miles of blood vessels to every corner of your body. And that is why its muscle wall is so much thicker and stronger. It's doing all the heavy lifting. So, this amazing 2-pump design creates what's called a double circulatory system. All that really means is that your blood is constantly making 2 totally separate journeys, with the heart acting as the central hub for both of them. So, the first journey is what we can call the refueling trip. This is the pulmonary circulation. The right side of the heart sends all that used blood over to the lungs, and there it drops off its cargo of carbon dioxide and picks up a fresh tank of oxygen before zipping right back to the heart's left side, ready to go. And that brings us to the second, much bigger journey, the delivery route. This is systemic circulation. This is where the left ventricle pumps all that freshly oxygenated blood out into the body's huge network to deliver fuel and pick up waste from every single tissue. Then that used blood eventually finds its way back to the heart to start the whole cycle over again. Okay, so if the heart is the central dispatch center, what about the transportation network itself? Well, a great way to think about it is as a system of highways, smaller roads, and teeny-tiny neighborhood alleys. This whole road system has 3 main types of vessels. Your arteries, those are the major highways. They carry high-pressure blood away from the heart, which is why they have these thick, muscular walls. Then you've got your veins. They're the return roads, bringing low-pressure blood back to the heart. And they even have these cool little one-way valves to keep blood from flowing backward. But the real magic? That all happens in the capillaries. Just let that sink in for a second. The walls of your capillaries, those tiny little alleys where all the deliveries and pickups actually happen, are only 1 single cell thick. I mean, that's unbelievably thin. And that thinness is the entire secret. It's what allows oxygen, nutrients, and waste to just slip right through, back and forth between your blood and your body's cells. It's genius. So we've covered the pump, and we've covered the roads. But what about the delivery trucks themselves, and the precious cargo they're carrying? Well, let's take a closer look at the blood itself.
All right, here's something that really surprises most people. When you think of blood, you probably picture red cells, right? But check this out. Over half of your blood, a full 55%, is actually this yellowish liquid called plasma. The red blood cells make up almost all of the rest. And then there's this tiny but absolutely vital 1% left over for white blood cells and platelets. And each part of this blood crew has a highly specialized job. Think of red blood cells as little oxygen taxis, designed specifically to carry that cargo. Your white blood cells, they're your mobile security team, constantly on patrol, hunting for invaders. Platelets are like the emergency road repair crew, rushing to any cut or scrape to form a clot and stop a leak. And the plasma? Well, that's the liquid highway itself, carrying everyone and everything, cells, nutrients, hormones, waste along for the ride. You know, this entire system just works silently, tirelessly in the background of our lives, but we can actually feel its effects, and it is so important that we take good care of it.
Have you ever checked your pulse on your wrist or your neck? What you're actually feeling is the physical proof of this whole system in action. It's a pressure wave. It's the rhythmic bulge of your arteries as the left ventricle powerfully shoves blood out into the highway system with every single beat. Pretty cool, huh?
But what happens when this system starts to break down? One of the most common problems is something called coronary heart disease. It's kind of crazy to think about, but the heart is a muscle that needs its own dedicated blood supply. And tiny little arteries, the coronary arteries, do that job. But if they get blocked, well, mission control itself starts to run out of fuel.
And this isn't something that just happens overnight. It's usually a long progression. You know, lifestyle factors like diet or smoking can lead to high cholesterol. That, in turn, causes fatty gunk to start building up inside the arteries. That process is called atherosclerosis. And over time, those deposits can get so big, they actually start to block those critical coronary arteries, which means the heart muscle gets starved of the oxygen it desperately needs to keep pumping. So, when you put it all together, from the powerful pump in your chest, to the thousands of miles of vessels, to the specialized screw floating in your blood, this system is just an absolute marvel of biological engineering. It works for you every second of every day without you ever having to think about it, which really leaves just one question. What can you do for it?